I think that if you stand up, they will...
Yeah. Folks, we're going to get started. Welcome everybody to the lunch keynote discussion with Boris Nemtsov. Many of you know Boris was deputy prime minister in Russia from 1997 to 98. He got started his career in political activism actually in 1986 after the Chernobyl disaster, when he began protesting the building of new nuclear plants in Russia, and since then has founded several of the pro-reform movements in Russia. Actually tried to run for office, ran for parliament under communist Russia, and co-founded Solidarity with Garry Kasparov, and actually ran for mayor of Sochi, where the 2014 Winter Olympics will take place. Came in second, almost won. And today is really on the front lines of the reform, pro-human rights movement in Russia. He's been written about extensively here and written extensively about in Russia. We have worked closely with him over the last couple of years. The Foreign Policy Initiative hosted Boris about a year ago, actually. Exactly a year ago in New York. We hosted him at the Council on Foreign Relations. We took him around to have a number of meetings in New York, and then we also set up some meetings here in Washington for you on Capitol Hill and with members of the administration. And maybe it would be helpful to start the discussion for you, Boris, to just give an overview of the state of the reform movement in Russia today, and specifically leading up to these important elections, the parliamentary elections in Russia in 2011, and then the presidential election in 2012, and what is Solidarity's plan?
Okay. First of all, thank you very much, Dan, and thank you everybody to come today. It's a real great honor for me. And frankly speaking, I'm for the first time with so big amount of Washington people together. Well, Dan knows my biography. Sometimes I feel better than me. Well, he even remember about Chernobyl accident many years ago, 1986. You're right. Really, I represent Solidarity. This is quite new democratic opposition movement, which was founded 2 years ago. And Garry Kasparov is one of the famous opposition leader in Russia. He's my friend, and we are together. Fortunately, we have a lot of achievements during these few years. First of all, Solidarity did everything to fight corruption in the city of Moscow. And maybe you know that we published a special report about corruption in Lushkov family. Lushkov is the richest bureaucrat in the world, $3 billion just. Well, and that is one of our achievements. Another one is our report about corruption around Putin. France, and we published the most popular opposition book now with 1 million copies, Putin Itogi, 10 years, Putin results 10 years. Well, you mentioned that I took part in the election, in so-called election in Sochi. Yes, I did, but it was not an election. This is like fraud, but not an election. And now really we face an election to the parliament of 2011 and 2012 presidential race. Well, first point, I can tell you, after 2003, after arrest of Khodorkovsky, transparent and honest elections in Russia were over. No elections at all. Opposition rejected from elections. People from opposition movements did not register even. Censorship on TV is 100%. For example, I'm in the stop list, and it's impossible to look at me on the first or second or some other Putin channels. Well, they cancelled governor's elections, and now they decided to cancel mayor's elections to destroy municipal level, not even regional level, but municipal level. Well, and Russian opposition is in a very difficult situation. From one side, we understand that this is not an election. From another side, if we do not take part in the processes, who will recognize what we want and what is our strategy, why we are against Putinism, and what is our proposal, etc. That's why not long ago, and this is good news from Russia, not long ago we decided to organize a coalition with Mr. Kasyanov, who was a former prime minister, with Mr. Ryzhkov, who is a famous Russian Democrat, and with Mr. Milov, who is a young guy and my co-author of our report, Putin Itogi, and Putin and Gazprom, etc. And we decided to take part in, first of all, presidential race and in parliamentary race too. What is second good news, that we came to the conclusion and to agreement that we have to nominate the united opposition democratic candidate using not exactly primaries procedures like you have in this country for many, many years, but something like that. At the first part of next year, maybe at the beginning of June, we will organize special Congress for nomination of opposition democratic candidate, and Congress will be huge. I believe that maybe 500 or about 1,000 of participants will take part. It will be competition between candidates, and finally results will be under voting, right? Frankly, during the last 20 years, I don't remember any case when Democrats come to such kind of agreement because of ego, because of conflicts inside, because of everything. And split of Democrats are very important and very serious problem for Russia. And I'm very happy that to create coalition, we overcome such kind of split situation. It's the first point. Second point is parliamentary race. Putin established very repressive law about registration of the party and very repressive law about elections. For example, there are 47 opportunities for officials to reject registration of the party. 47. For example, if you find just one wrong signature in one list, and we have to collect 45,000 members, right? If you find just one wrong, this is a chance to reject you. But anyway, nevertheless, what Putin wants, and of course he cancelled all of the opposition, we decided to register our party, and we are under this way. The first Congress, I mean party Congress, will happen in December 13, and we are under very strong preparation. Nevertheless, what will be a response from Kremlin side? We will do this. If Putin will reject us, and it's quite, it's possible, right? I don't know, 90% of possibility or 99, but it's possible. It will be very visible for Russian people and for the world that this is not an elections, because opposition is out of the game. And in this case, we will say that this is not an election, and we will proclaim an idea of boycott, right? If they will register us, we will take part in the election and suggest our strategy, which is strongly differ from Putin's strategy. You know, our program is very clear, you know. First of all, freedom of press and real elections, come back to governor's elections, real competition and open debate. Maybe you don't know, but we have no debate in our country at all. You know, Speaker of Russian Parliament, Mr. Gryzlov, you know, a member of Putin Party, the United Russia, he's a speaker. He said that the Parliament is not a place for discussion. Parliament is not. And I can tell you that not only Parliament, but unfortunately country, Russian, is not a place for discussion. That's why the only policy which we can proceed is to go to the streets. That's why I'm a member of Strategy 31. You know,
can you explain what Strategy 31 is?
I explain to everybody, and welcome to Triumphal Square in December 31. We have constitution. Unfortunately, officials, you know, broke constitution and constitutional rights for assembly and for demonstrations and for rally. And this is a charter number 31. That's why different political forces suggested to organize assembly every 31 day. For example, the last happened in October 31. The next will be, unfortunately, in the new year. Well, I prefer to spend New Year with my family. But maybe it will be the first case when I spend my New Year in police station. I don't know. But I had an experience to spend in police station several 31st days. For example, July.
Can you describe what happened to you at the last Strategy 31?
I was arrested 3 times. First time in July 31, I distributed this report among demonstrators and among OMON and police guys. What is funny that police guys are very interested in this book because I explained that you protect Russian oligarchs, including Putin and Abramovich. And you know, police guys are very much interested in that. Well, because they believe that they protect ordinary Russian people and honest Russian power. I want to tell you that corruption level in Russia is in the African level. Now we are in the 154 place with Ghana, with Sierra Leone, Zimbabwe, and Venezuela.
This is according to Transparency International.
This is Transparency International last report, right? Well, that's why to work with police guys a very important job for opposition. Well, I was arrested during distribution of Putin itogi. It's happened in July 31. Second time I was arrested in the Russian Flag Day. We have Russian Flag Day in August 22nd, and we decided to carry a Russian flag on Arbat Street. This is the famous Moscow street. And after that, police arrested everybody who carry a Russian flag, you know. Yeah, this is a funny story, but 2 guys were arrested for 10 days. You know, we do not carry American flag. We carry Russian. Well, next time I was arrested in August 31 I took part in Strategy 31 with European Parliament deputies, and they were shocked because nothing happened. We just distribute our reports and that's it. But because of demand of political officials, you know, a lot of activists, mainly leaders of opposition, were arrested. But it doesn't matter. We have no chance. We have to continue. That's why December 31 is a day to protect Constitution and to insist Kremlin and Putin to think that Russian people have rights. That's why we will be in the December 31. What is important that even in the United States, there are few groups who supported Strategy 31 in New York City, and I hope finally, maybe after our today meeting, in Washington, D.C. It will be great. Well, but we have the same support in London, in Kyiv, I believe sometimes in Minsk, and in some European capitals. And this is very important. This is international. Why Strategy 31 is so important? Because, first of all, this is a common action of opposition from left side up to liberal side. And this is unique action. Second, this action shows what does it mean police state. What does it mean Putin police state? In violation of law and a lot of brutal pressure to demonstrators, etc. And third point, I think that such kind of actions are important to insist power to think about rules of law and constitution. That's why we have to promote this idea in the future. But I don't think that strategy 31 has to be just one strategy. We have to think about huge rally, anti-Putin rally in Moscow. That's why the next will be in December 12. This rally will be devoted to Khodorkovsky terrible situation. Maybe you know that prosecutors insisted Khodorkovsky to be in the prison additionally 14 years.
So he's now at the tail end of his first 8-year sentence.
He was arrested in 2003, right? He spent in Siberian Chita prison and now in the Moscow prison. He spent generally 7 years. Now it was the second discussion in the court, Khmelnytsky court, about Khodorkovsky, and prosecutors said that he stole all of his oil. He stole 300 million tons of oil. It's the first news. Second news, he paid taxes for this oil. This is not a joke. And that's why they want him to be in the prison for 14 years. Everybody who is interested in the situation in Russia is shocked, except prosecutor and Putin.
Wait, are people shocked? I mean, what is public opinion on Khodorkovsky? Because it seems that for some time Putin was effective at
I explain you. Khodorkovsky is not angel, first of all.
Yeah.
He
admits.
Yeah. But he is not oligarch now. He was oligarch, but now he is not. He is like a victim of Putin regime.
And that's the
that's
public.
Why,
that's
that's
public,
why
public
people,
opinion.
Russian people, even who hate rich people, who hate oligarchs, etc., now step by step, after 7 years in the prison, right? Russian people recognize that he is a victim, and Putin has absolutely personal problem with this gentleman, and he lost his health. He has a lot of problem in his family, and he lost his business because business was now in the Putin hand, in Rosneft, etc. And that's why I believe that if we will organize public polls about amnesty, for example, for Khodorkovsky, I'm sure that majority will support. Well, that's why rally about Khodorkovsky will take place in December 12. And of course, this is a day of Russian Constitution. We will talk about rights which were stolen by Putin during the last 10 years. And we want not only liberal opposition take part in these demonstrations, but people from Social Democrat side and from the left side. Well, I can tell you that because Parliament is not a place for discussion, the only policy in Russia is street policy. It's street policy. I am 51, right? I started my career from opposition side. I was anti-communist. I was one of the leader of anti-communistic movement in Nizhny Novgorod region and environmental, like you mentioned. But on the other hand, and I was a young guy when I came to the street and organized rally, demonstrations, etc. Now I'm 51, and maybe this is not the right time to go to the street. Well, but what is opportunity to explain? I can tell you that existing president, formal president, Mr. Medvedev, right? He responds on such kind of street activity. Just a few examples. First example is Kaliningrad. We organized huge rally with 12,000 demonstrators, protesters in Kaliningrad. This is the western part of Russia. Against corruption, and we demand to fire governor. Finally, governor was fired by Medvedev, which is good news. Second news, which is concerned with environmental problem, with Khimkinsky les, Khimki forest, right? Our rock and roll star, Yuri Shevchuk, with opposition, organized huge rally in Pushkin Square. This is historical place in the heart of Moscow city. Well, it was about 5,000 of people, and finally Medvedev made a decision to stop cutting forest, which is great success. Well, the last terrible case, which happened just a few weeks ago, I mean Kashin case. We have journalist Oleg Kashin, and it was terrible, brutal attack on him.
Okay, so describe that.
Yeah.
So Oleg Kashin is a reporter for...
He is a reporter for Independent Kommersant newspaper.
And he was reporting on this highway...
I will explain. He is a reporter on one of the most popular and most independent, unfortunately with small circulation, newspaper, Kommersant. And at the beginning of November, in the heart of Moscow city, right, two criminals, murders, destroyed him completely. They broke his fingers, they broke his jaws, and they broke his legs to show that it's impossible for him to print, it's impossible for him to speak. That's why they broke his jaws, right? And impossible for him to move. It was a real shock in the country, and Medvedev was very much disappointed about that, because he always talked about innovation, modernization, about new policy, etc. And everybody understands what does mean new policy, because more than 100 journalists were killed during the last 10 years. And what is important, that there are 4 versions of this criminal, terrible case. All of these versions are connected with the power. One version is Governor of Pskov, Mr. Turchak, who was a member of Hunvei Bin Putin youth organization, the young guard of the United Russia. Now he's a governor. Another version is concerned with the Minister of Youth, Mr. Yakimenko, because Mr. Kashin described his sexual relationship with teenager. While the third version is with administration of Khimki region, Khimki city. And the last version is concerned with the Kremlin youth organization, the young guard of the United Russia, who published an information that Oleg Kashin has to be punished. You know, they published in the website that Oleg Kashin has to be punished. And just after this day, terrible day, they decided to clean this information in the Kremlin website. This is Kremlin website. What is important, that these 4 versions come to one guy. His name is Surkov. Surkov is responsible for domestic policy. I don't think that a lot of people here know him, but everybody in Russia knows him. He's responsible for censorship. He's responsible for canceling elections. He's responsible for atmosphere of hatred. And what is a pity and very sad, that he's co-chairman of Michael McFaul and Surkov Commission for Development of Civil Society. He's a co-chairman of this commission. Well, my view, and this is very serious, right? There are a lot of discussion in this country about Jackson Vanik, about, you know, how to support democracy in Russia, how to support human rights in Russia, etc. There are a lot of talks. There are a lot of talks about reset, etc. I have absolutely clear idea and proposal. My idea is that Jackson Vanik has to be cancelled, first of all. Because, I explain it, because Jackson Vanik was about immigration of Jewish people from Soviet Union. We do not have Soviet Union, and we have no problem with immigration, Jewish and non-Jewish. But on the other hand, I think that we have to press some terrible persons inside Kremlin administration and inside power who break constitution, who establish this terrible atmosphere of intolerance in the country, and do not touch the country. Touch terrible guys who break rules and break international agreements which Russia signed for many, many years about human rights, democracy, etc. And my idea that a support of Russian Democracy Act is much better than Jackson Vanik. What does it mean, support of Russian Democracy Act? It means that such guys like Surkov has to be in the blacklist and have no chance to get visa to the States and to Schengen countries, which is more important for Russian corrupted bureaucracies than the States. And their assets and money and accounts have to be arrested. I explain you why this is very important, because Putin Russia is a corrupted state. And Putin is not Stalin. Putin is a combination of Stalin and Abramovich have more percentages than Stalin in the soul of Putin, right? That's why corrupted bureaucrats are very interested to travel in Schengen zone, in European countries, and in the West. And they have a lot of property outside of the country, a lot of assets, and a lot of relations, including with families and kids are outside of the country, and they have education, mainly in the United Kingdom, somebody in the States. But I think that such kind of law, such kind of act, will press much higher than Jackson-Vanik and discussion about ratification about START Treaty. I support very much START Treaty, because this is control, this is reduction of nuclear power, and this is more transparent situation than absence of such kind of treaty. I support joining Russian WTO, because this is Russia become a part of a global economy. Liberalization of trade is in the interest of Russian economy and Russian people and the world and the society in the world. But we have absolutely unpredictable and very cynical power in the country, and we have to change that. A conductor of Putin policy is Surkov. He's responsible for domestic affairs. He's responsible for everything, for blacklist, for elections, I repeated once again, for everything. And I think that such kind of act with names, very concrete names, will be under discussion here. It will be very helpful for everybody. First of all, for Russian people, frankly. First of all, for us. Because a lot of people in Washington, D.C. ask me, well, Boris, how we can help you? Yes, we are for democracy, we are for freedom, we are for transparency, we are against corruption, etc. How? I think that this is the best way and very legal. Because the problem of human rights and democracy is not a problem of domestic affairs. We signed declaration in Helsinki that human rights and democracy is not a problem of domestic affairs. And that's why they always said that they want to press to Russia, they want to be involved in our domestic problems, and this is impossible, we know better how to run the country, etc. We know this speech. Well, but this is against Declaration of Helsinki, for example, or SCE, right? That's why I think that such kind of proposal will be very fruitful. One point which is good, Senator Cardin decided to promote Sergei Magnitsky Act. And Senator Cardin decided to put 60 person who is responsible for Magnitsky death. Tomorrow it will be 1 year when Magnitsky died, right? And this is absolutely the same, but not about, violation in the prison, but about violation of Russian constitution and human rights. That's why such kind of experience you have already have. That's why that's great. You know how to run it. When
President Obama visited Moscow in summer of 2009, and there was a lot of pressure on him to speak out on some of these issues, and specifically to speak out on some of these dissidents, reformers that have been imprisoned. He was asked about Khodorkovsky in an interview, and he said about the legal situation, the extension of this sentence, and he said it was quote-unquote odd, but it was improper for the U.S. government to intervene in the Russian legal system. You met with President Obama. Can you describe
Well, I met President Obama. It's happened last year in Moscow in July. Leaders of Russian opposition met him, which is absolutely great idea. And he talked about reset, and we agree with that we need good relationship between our countries. Well, but I showed him a bill, an act of Khodorkovsky, where Mr. Obama, He was a senator at that time. In 2005, and Senator McCain promoted through the Congress. This act was devoted on Khodorkovsky case. And I asked him a very concrete question. What is your position now? Now you are not a senator, you are the president. Well, he was very cautious, maybe like you described. I understand him on one side, because he is interested about transit to Afghanistan, he is interested about good personal relationship with Putin, he is interested, but I think that maybe tactically he is right, but strategically this is absolutely a wrong policy. Because if you have, well, I'm not American citizen, right? Well, I can't have open statement against Mr. Obama because this is your problem. But but I want to tell you that I think that in the interest of Russian people, we need democracy and human rights and rules of law. This is our interest. And we don't so naive to believe that Americans help us to build democracy in my country. It's absolutely stupid idea. Well, on the other hand, to have democracy means to have predictable policy and predictable country in international affairs. That's why strategically, I think that this is a mistake. To close your eyes about what's happened with journalists, to close your eyes what's happened with Khodorkovsky, to close your eyes about violation of law during elections, do not pay attention on what's happened with opposition, etc. I think that I understand that this is realpolitik, but on the other hand, this is wrong policy in strategical point of view. This is my view. I have another proposal to my friend Michael Makfall. I talked with him several times. He's a great man, first of all. He knows Russia very well. He is special advisor to President Obama as far as Russian affairs are concerned. And he not only knows Russia, but he feels Russia, which is important, because sometimes Russia looks like mystery country and knowledge is not enough. Sometimes you need something else. I don't even know how to describe that. But he can, and he is a great, brilliant man. But I think that his participation in commission with Surkov, this is a problem of his reputation. If finally, for example, an act to protect democracy in Russia will be adopted, and this gentleman will be in the blacklist, how to explain American people that you were at the same commission as a co-chairman like Surkov? And moreover, this commission has a name, to development of civil society. This is a bad joke. This commission has no ideas about such kind of development. You understand why. Not because of Michael, but because of Surkov. People who are responsible for censorship, how to promote freedom of speech. People who are responsible for counseling transparent elections. How to promote elections. People who broke opposition and who is responsible for Kremlin Hunvei beans and finance Hunvei beans. Surkov finance Hunvei beans, right? How to sit with him at the same commission. That's why I think that maybe commission is good, like an idea. But real life shows that to be with this gentleman means to break your reputation.
I want to open it up to questions from the audience. Before I do, just one question. When so little is said by the U.S. government about the plight of some of these human rights and reforming activists, when President Obama makes a point, or other administration officials, McFaul, whomever, say so little, how is that covered in Russia? Do they notice it? Is it noticed that they were given an opportunity to weigh in and they said so little, or is it just not covered at all?
Russian people don't care about that. First of all, Russian people don't know about position and about Obama position concerning human rights in Russia and democracy in Russia. They don't know this position. For example, this meeting between Obama and the opposition, there were no information on TV, zero. No information in popular newspapers, zero. Just internet, just live journal, and just maybe Kommersant newspaper, like I mentioned, or Vedomosti, etc., which is for elite is good, but majority of people have no ideas about these newspapers at all. Well, that's why the Russian people don't know about that. What is a mistake that if Obama believes that to close your eyes on human rights, etc., means to be a friend of Putin, this is a mistake. Because Putin thinks that he is weak. I mean Obama. He's weak. If he doesn't want to talk about Khodorkovsky, he's weak. If he doesn't want about violation of law and constitution and about strategy 31, he's weak. That's it. This is a mentality of criminal guy. That's why if you want to promote realpolitik, maybe it's good, but to be a friend, no, never. And one more point about modernization. Governor of California visited Skolkovo not long ago, which is a real show, like always with Schwarzenegger, right? Well, why he visited Skolkovo? Because, you know, he wanted to support Medvedev to organize Russian Silicon Valley. But I want to explain you about Skolkovo. Skolkovo is the most expensive place in Europe. The most expensive. Russian oligarchs, Russian billionaires have apartments in this place. For example, Abramovich, Prokhorov, and Potanin. The most cheapest 1 square meter is $50,000. $50,000 per meter. How to promote Silicon Valley in this way? Why they decided to choose Skolkovo? I'm sure that governor of California had no ideas about prices in Skolkovo. I'm sure. But I think that this is Potemkin village. This is really Potemkin village. This is absolutely not about life. If we want to modernize Russia, and I want to modernize Russia, and I'm sure that innovation has to be implemented in the country like China did, like India, etc. First of all, we have to modernize our corrupted Putin system. This is the first point. To come back to competition in political life, to come back in competition in economy, to come back in competition in ideology. If we don't, unfortunately, no innovation and no modernization happen. Nothing. Just PR and Schwarzenegger, you know, something like that. No more.
Okay, I'll open it up now.
Questions? Yes.
I think we have roving mics. And just state your name, where you're from. Yeah.
I'm Alexei Pinov with the Russian service of the Voice of America.
Yeah.
Boris Yefimовich, my question refers to your political agenda. I'm 100% for what you're saying with regard to the Putin regime and the current situation in Russia. But my question is, if you manage to not even to come to power today, but to increase your influence in Russian politics, how do you convince the people that your policy would differ from in terms of socio-economic conditions, in other terms, from what you were doing when you were in power? Thank you.
Yeah, this is a great question. I always got this question in my country. This is fine. I was quite successful governor in Nizhny Novgorod region from 91 up to 97. I was elected 4 times. In this very difficult time for Russia to be elected 4 times, it's something, right? It's the first point. Second, I worked in the government, like you mentioned, I worked in the government for 1.5 years. I was a minister of fuel and gas when oil prices were $10 per barrel. I had a dream at that time to have 20. I was sure that if we will get 20, we will be like in Kuwait or on the United Emirates. Well, now they have 90, I mean Putin, and we have 3.5% of budget deficit. Of course, this is less than in the States, which is great achievement. Well, but on the other hand, I want to tell you that from my point of view, to survive after bankruptcy of the Soviet Union, and Soviet Union was bankrupt in 91, and to have $10 per barrel, it was a very difficult task. And we protected Russia. Russia, we are the united country. We had a lot of conflict in Caucasus, but we survived with $10. I can tell you that if Putin will get not 10 now, but 50, millions of people came to the street for his resignation, believe me. And we were in the power with $10 per barrel. Why I pay so big attention on oil? Because unfortunately, Russian economy based on oil and gas. If you look at the structure of Russian budget, about 50% of money come from commodities, even more. That's why, unfortunately, I can tell you that this is like banana republic. If you have huge prices for oil, you are popular. If you have $10 per barrel, you are very unpopular. I'm not a very lucky man, because it's better to be deputy prime minister with $80 than when you have 10. But this is my life.